All right, everyone. So let's get started. I hope you guys are able to see my screen.
Yes, we are able to see your screen.
All right, that's great. Thanks for confirming. So, like by default, every one of you will be on mute. In case you want to ask any questions, any queries, you can directly unmute yourself and like you can ask any question that you have. And in case you don't want to ask questions over the mic, you can also type it in the chat box. So there's a chat box also available. So I'll keep on looking at your chats. So you can ask any questions in the chat box as well, right? So let us get started. We have a good number of audience today. So like there are couple of students who have already gone through their core Java sessions and now getting started with Selenium. And there are many new students who are joining for the very first time for the very first session. So the next two sessions, I mean, today and tomorrow, these are going to be the introductory sessions on Selenium. We'll be understanding the background, the history of Selenium, and we'll be doing the basic configuration. In these two sessions, these are not at all dependent on any programming language or core Java. So once the people who have joined new, so you guys will be moving to the core Java batch from the next weekend. So we'll be starting from ABC of core Java. Once the core Java is done, then the Selenium part will be started. And for the students who have already completed core Java, so you will be learning the basic configuration in these two sessions. And from the next week, same batch will be continued, where we'll be covering the WebDriver and the frameworks part, right? So before we get started, do you guys have any questions you want to discuss? But before that, let me introduce myself for the people who are new. So I'm Rahul. I'll be taking your entire Selenium sessions. So I'm having over 14 years of experience in software testing itself. I used to work as a test manager with one of the company in Gurgaon in India. So I've been to automation from over 10 years, where I've worked on various automation tools like QTP, UFT, Selenium, APM, mobile automation, then Rest Assured. Then I've also used various languages with these different tools. Like I've worked with Selenium, with Java, with C Sharp, with Python, with JavaScript, with Ruby, with multiple languages I have used Selenium with. And I'm also a corporate trainer, so I've given a lot of trainings on automation to various organizations like TSYS, Wipro, and then I've given some training in NCR, in Mumbai, in Bangalore, even in New York to a company Shutterstock.com, in Seattle to Spoken Communication. So like I have a very good exposure around the training part, even the framework designing part. I've handled the team of automation, so where we have implemented a lot of automation frameworks. So whatever that practically I have worked on, the same thing I'm going to cover in these live sessions. So you're going to get complete practical knowledge. And also, I mean, in Selenium, there is nothing theory. Only the initial introduction part is the theory one. Then rest of the thing in Selenium in automation is purely practical. So we'll be automating lots of live websites. We'll be working on live projects. We'll be designing end-to-end frameworks. And after the training, you'll be capable enough that in case you want to justify your current 2-3 years of experience in automation, you should be easily able to do that if you thoroughly follow these sessions. For the duration, like the entire training duration for Selenium with Java is 3.5 months, and the classes will be over the weekends, same time, 8 p.m. India time to 10 p.m. India time. So 2 hours each session will be there. So during the session, I'll be giving you a lot of assignments, a lot of practical website for automation, which you'll be doing it during the weekdays. We'll be forming up a WhatsApp group as well for this batch. So in case you have any questions, queries during the weekdays, you can post your question queries in the WhatsApp groups as well. And you can also post your assignments and can interact with each other and build a good social circle around as well, right? So that is the brief overview, the brief introduction about me. So I hope like most of you are from testing background. Anyone from development background or DevOps background joining for automation? So you can type it in the chat box. I really want this session to be very interactive. So it's not like for the entire 2 hours only I am going to talk. So we should feel like that we are sitting in a classroom, although it's an online session, but you should feel like you're sitting in a classroom. You can ask n number of questions, queries, in case you need any assistance on your PC as well. So you cannot bring your PC to me, but you can share your screen online. I can take a remote of your machine and I can do the installation there and then wherever you are stuck, right? So just feel it like a classroom session. All right. So I got a lot of answers. Tosca, not at the moment, but we do have a plan. Let's see how much popularity, because we don't get very much requirement for Tosca automation. So that's the reason we have not explore, or we have not get in touch with any trainer to provide Tosca automation training at the moment. But let's see if we get demand for Tosca, then we'll surely gonna start some batch on Tosca as well. Okay.
So Rahul, if at all you try to make a batch for Tosca, can you please count Sakshi Gupta in? Because in my current organization, Tosca is a niche skill, and our company, because we do testing on salesforce.com, and that is how Tosca is very essential. So if at all you start a batch and you feel like we can be a part of it, please reach.
Sure. I mean, Shakshi, I guess you recently joined in the lifetime membership, right?
Yes.
So you will be updated with all the trainings that we'll conduct in future. So you can join all those batches. So don't worry. I mean, whenever we start a new batch, you'll automatically gonna get updated.
Sure. Thank you so much for the update. Thank you.
All right. Okay. So a lot
of Rahul, I just want to ask you one thing, that for the rest assured part, do we have to attend those in parallel to these classes, or
it depends. I mean, see, if you are able to digest both Selenium and Rest Assured in the same day, you can attend it in parallel. But for Rest Assured, the prerequisite is you should be good in Java. So if you can handle both Selenium and Rest Assured in the same day, you can attend it, because Rest Assured we are going to start from second week of June. So the timings will be like 6 p.m. India time. So 6 to 8 will be Rest Assured, and then 8 to 10 will be the Selenium. So if you want, you can attend both in parallel as well.
Okay, and what will be your suggestion, or what will be your suggestion based on your experience? Like, how shall we go with it?
See, these days companies, they demand UI plus API automation, because I mean, if you talk about Selenium is only for UI automation. That is, Selenium automates only website. So these days projects are designed where the UI part is also there, where the API part is also there, where the mobile part is also there. So all these automation can be handled in one single project. So that is the reason. I mean, in case if you want, you can do it parallel as well. So this Selenium is going to take 3.5 months, and Rest Assured is for 2 months. So you can say that, I mean, within 3.5 months, you will be comfortable in both the platforms.
Okay. Thank you for that.
Sure.
So Rahul, a small question addition to this. So what will be the prerequisite for this? So we have a Java and also Selenium both parallelly, or is it like one after the other?
See, we are going to start a parallel batch, but it completely depends on you. In case you don't want to attend it right now, you can attend it after Selenium, because these two batches are frequent. I mean, once one batch finished, then after 1 or 2 weeks, the next batch starts.
So Rahul, what do you suggest? So we need Java, right?
Yeah, Java is required. That is for sure.
Oh, okay. Thanks, Rahul.
Yeah. Okay. So Venkat is asking, can we automate Flutter web? See, Venkat, to be very honest, I have not tried Flutter app, but if you have like I guess Flutter is mostly used for the mobile applications. I've seen in mobile application. I don't know. I mean, for the web app, if it is there, if it is on web, then and if the DOM is locatable, then we can automate it. But if you have any URL that you can share with me, I can tell you whether the site can be automated or not. Okay, sessions will be over the weekends only, no daily sessions, because most of the trainers who are associated with us are 100% working professionals. So they are available over the weekends only. And I guess most of the people who are joining the session are also from a working background, like mostly the testing background. So that's the reason we keep classes over the weekends. And weekdays, it's for your practice. Sure, Yogita, once the batch is formed, you will be receiving the meeting invite for rest assured and the WhatsApp group as well. Cucumber, we are going to cover, but not in the Selenium part, but we'll be covering the same in the API testing part. So in Selenium, we are going to cover two major frameworks. One is like data-driven, keyword-driven, hybrid. So this is like combination of one framework. And the second one will be page object model and page factory. So these two are very huge frameworks that we are going to cover. And then addition to this, you will also going to get access to this automation architect course, which covers all this Cucumber and all advanced level of frameworks. If you go over here, if you scroll a little down, let me show it to you. So like whenever, like in case you have already enrolled, you might be knowing, and in case you are new, then you will get lifetime access to this complete video library. So there are like 30 plus courses, all latest courses in automation are covered. And this library is growing. So we'll be adding more courses in future soon. So we have a course in pipeline, which is called as Playwright. So we are currently recording videos on that. So you'll be getting very soon, you'll be getting access to that. The other thing I was talking about, automation architect. So this is like 7 live project. Once you are done with the 2 projects that we are going to cover in the live sessions, then you can go through this complete library. This covers the 7 detailed live projects on different frameworks which are in demand. So this is like Cucumber BDD integrated with page objects, page factory, the next level of page object model, extended framework. So a lot of things, a lot of framework designing stuff is there. But yes, in order to work on this, you should be good in Java, you should be good in Selenium. So you're gonna have lifetime access to all these lectures. Right? How much time we spend on core Java concepts? See, initial part will be starting with core Java itself. So for next 1.5 months, you will be dedicatedly working on the core Java exercises. So 1.5 months is more than sufficient if in case you practice at least 1 hour a day. So that is more than enough, and complete the assignments that is provided in the Java sessions. See which one to follow. The live recordings for these sessions will be added over here in this particular list. Right? Okay, rest assured one, you should be following this one. These are from the live sessions. All right, so let me show you the course content before we get started. So this is the latest syllabus on Selenium 4 that I've designed. So here we are going to start with the introduction part first. In the 2 sessions, we'll be understanding what exactly Selenium is, then the architecture behind the different versions of Selenium, and we'll be using the latest version itself. Will not be working on any previous version like Selenium 3 or Selenium 2. We'll be using the very latest version in the industry. And then after the 2 sessions, we'll be going through with the detailed core Java. We'll be covering all the basic concepts from scratch. So anyone who is very new in programming world, then he need not to worry. Everything will be covered from scratch, from the introduction of Java part, right? Mostly because we a little afraid of programming, so we start our career from the manual testing part, right? But in case you are going into automation, there is no need to worry about the programming part, because there is no advanced programming in automation, right? In case if we talk about Java as well, you only need to understand the core Java concepts, the basic concepts that you must have studied in your graduation, like basic C, C++, you must have studied, where you have studied basic if, else, loops, arrays, basics, OOP concepts. So these are some of the things which you actually need for Selenium as well. Up till the collections part, we are going to learn in Selenium, right? Yes, logic building is very much required, and that is actually going to build once you start writing the code on your own. Normally what happens, like you might have studied core Java on your own, or you might have studied programming in your graduation, but if you don't practice, you forget all the concepts, right? Even if you are learning, let's say you are learning basic if else, you're learning loops, you're learning array, but the question comes, why we are learning it, right? Where practically we are going to use it. So till the time we won't use it practically, our logics, our concepts are not built up. Now, when you're learning the same thing and directly implementing it while automating a website, and by writing 3-4 lines of code, you'll see that a browser is launching and automation is happening and actions are being performed over the website. So it actually gonna bring interest in you. I mean, you'll not gonna feel that programming is very boring part or very complex part. So that is why, I mean, when you start working on Selenium, whatever programming that you are learning parallelly Java, automatically these concepts will gonna build up, and you need not to worry about like logic building stuff. These will automatically gonna come. The more and more you practice, the more and more you automate a website, logics will automatically gonna develop. So after 3 months, you're gonna feel very confident. I mean, if you automate at least one website on your own, you'll see the confidence level in you. Can we do APM and Selenium in parallel? Yes, you can do APM and Selenium in parallel. Both are similar, but again, in APM, we are not covering Java because Java is covered in Selenium. So in case your basic Java concepts are good, then only do it in parallel. Right, and then we're going to start with Selenium 4. We're going to see the new features of Selenium 4. So there are some new relative locators added, some functionality for new tabs, windows. One of the major features that is added in Selenium 4 is your Chrome dev protocol feature. So we are going to cover that as well. And then there are so many topics, each and every scenario which is important for website automation. We'll try to cover that. We're gonna deal with XPath, CSS in depth without creating any dependency on available tools in the market. We'll be writing the XPath and CSS on our own, right? So that in interviews, if someone asks you to automate a website, you'll not be using any tool to auto-generate those XPath or CSS. You'll be writing all these things on your own. Don't worry, even if you are not good in coding, once you start learning Selenium, you're gonna enjoy the coding part, right? And no need to move to DevOps because automation industry is very wide, right? If you talk about 3-4 years of experience or 5 years of experience in automation, your packages will be equivalent to what developers are getting. Right. And if we talk about DevOps as well, most of the things will be using in automation as well. So we'll be using Jenkins, CI, CD, Git, GitHub, right? We'll be using Dockers, we'll be using AWS integration. So a lot of things will be integrating with Selenium as well. So ultimately, I mean, most of the things related to DevOps as well, you should have knowledge on, right? And we do have dedicated courses on DevOps as well. So when, if you are a lifetime member, if you have already enrolled, then you will be attending those courses as well. You can attend them in parallel as well. So once we start a batch next month for DevOps, you can attend that batch as well. Yeah, I'll be sharing the syllabus with everyone. So frameworks will be covering, see this TestNG framework will be covering in depth, will be designing, customizing reports like extent report, which are the very popular reports. And then we'll be doing JDBC database connection and testing with Selenium. A lot of APIs will be integrating. So Dockers, Jenkins, Maven, AWS Cloud, and these are the 2 live projects that we'll be working on. So this much content is going to take at least 3.5 months, because Selenium is not a small stuff. So, and it's purely related to programming, but programming is not like a very complex level, a very advanced level. So if your base is built up, initially we'll be working on the building up of base itself using the core Java part. If your base is built up strong, you should be able to work on Selenium easily. And I'm going to show you in our today's session as well, how we're going to get started with Selenium and what exactly are the prerequisites. So these are the things that you can install on your machine as well, and you can practice, and you should be able to launch a website and navigate to a website and do little bit actions after today's session as well. Right? So any questions before we get started? Any questions? Anyone? See, DevOps has its own demand and Selenium has its own demand. A Selenium guy can anytime switch to DevOps. But if a person is from DevOps, then he needs to learn the programming part and all the other part in order to move into automation. But in case you are into automation, you'll never feel like moving into DevOps or any other. See, if we talk about like we have, let's say we are working in an organization where we have to daily deploy builds, right? We have a release which is very soon going on production. So what happens is whenever there is a time of fire, so even the development team members, even the DevOps guys, they have to stretch for 15 hours, 20 hours a day, and they have to get the things done. But this is not like in automation. It's not like if a release is going on today, you have to automate that stuff as well today, right? So it is not like that scenario. So automation environment is very cool, right? You're not going to face a lot of burdens in automation. Whereas if we talk about DevOps, even the DevOps guy has to sit, he has to done all the deployment, all the pipeline he has to manage. So at times you get little frustrated in case you are very much into these things. Same thing is with the development guys as well. So they are stretching for 12 hours, 14 hours, but it is not like that with automation. You do have timelines, but it's not like you have a pressure that there is a build which is going to deploy to the production today, and you have to sit and you have to automate that part. In manual testing, we do have, like, if a build is deployed to the production, we have to sit and we have to verify and do a BVT test or do a smoke test, and we need to verify everything is working fine or not, and nothing is broken on the production system or on the UAT system. But it is not like that in automation. So automation environment is very stable. So that is one of the things, and the salary packages are equivalent to developers. Right? Do we not learn encapsulation? Encapsulation is required for framework designing. It is required. OOPS concepts are required. When will be the recorded session available? See, I mostly try that same day you're going to get the recording. So once the session is over, next couple of hours, you will see the recording on the portal. Only Selenium is going to take 7 weeks. All right. Okay, so let's get started with our Selenium part. The very first question that comes around is, what exactly is Selenium? So anything and everything that you know about Selenium, just let me know. Anything that you know, you might have studied, you might have Googled around, or you might have worked around. Anything that you know about Selenium, what is Selenium?
So far, I have learned, Rahul, Selenium is only.
It's an API, correct. So it's an API.
It's an automation tool where we automate.
Okay, someone is talking, but the voice is very low. It's an open source tool for web automation testing. It's an open source tool API for web-based testing only. Only for web-based testing. Means Selenium can only automate websites. No other applications. What all other applications are there? Like we have web-based applications, right? We have web-based.
We have desktop-based applications as well.
We have desktop-based as well, correct?
So like native or hybrid?
Native hybrid, where? In which platform?
On mobile?
Yes, so we have mobile-based applications as well. Anything else apart from this? Where we generally perform manual testing and do automation as well. Database, correct. So database applications are there where we use SQL, MySQL, Oracle, MongoDB, right? Anything else where we perform testing? API, exactly. API as in the web services. So where we have REST, where we have SOAP. SOAP is almost gone from the market. So majorly market is using RESTful APIs. So these are the major areas where we generally perform testing, where we do manual testing. We manually test web apps, desktop apps, even mobile applications. We manually fire queries in database. We test web services through manual tools as well, where we have a tool called as Postman. We have Swagger API, right? So these are the manual testing tools available to test the APIs. So, but if you talk about Selenium, Selenium comes only here. Selenium is only and only for web-based automation testing, not for desktop, not for mobile, not for any other platform. Then why Selenium is very popular? There are other automation tools as well. Like if we talk about competitor of Selenium, which is the biggest competitor of Selenium in the industry. QTP, and which is known as UFT now, right? So UFT can automate web-based application. UFT can automate desktop-based applications as well. But still, the demand of Selenium is more. Even if you go to any job portal like Naukri.com, Indeed.com, you'll find that automation, even not only even automation, even if you search for manual testing opening these days, you'll see that Selenium is like a prerequisite. There was a time when QTP was in very hype. I mean, every next opening in automation was of QTP. But these days, you'll hardly find openings related to UFT. So Selenium has taken over. But Selenium only automate web-based applications. Then why Selenium is very popular? Because it's
maybe
open.
because it's open source. And
we
it
have a
requires
lot
Java.
of forums where we discuss the things if we have any doubt or any concern related.
Okay, so you're saying that it has got a good forum support, right? And it's completely open source. So open source means like there is no license required to work on Selenium. Whereas if we talk about QTP, UFT, their licenses are very expensive. If a company is going for a concurrent user license for 50 users as well, they have to pay a huge amount for the license. Whereas same functionality, Selenium automates free of cost. Just that we cannot automate desktop applications. If we talk about current market, current industry, 90% of the applications are accessed via URL. Because it's a time of cloud computing. Everything is on web. You'll hardly find desktop-based applications. So Selenium is one thing that can automate any web-based application easily, right? So if we talk about not just the web application, if we talk about features of Selenium, if like UFT, which language UFT QTP supports?
C#.
VB.
V56.
Right? So VB as in VB script. It's just a scripting language. So whereas if we talk about Selenium, it has got a multi-language support. So multi-language as in you can use Java, you can use C#, you can use Python, you can use Ruby, you can use PHP, you can use JavaScript. All major languages in the world are can be used by Selenium. In case you're coming from any background, you can work on Selenium, right? What other things apart from language?
It supports all the browser.
Multiple browsers. So multi-browser support is there. So
Not
multi-browser
sure,
like
not sure, but maybe like it's integrating capability with third-party applications.
So third-party integration. So we're going to talk about this as well. This is very important. Third-party
Like Sauce Labs for third-party integration, when we want to test multi-browser testing, so we can do it via Sauce Labs, cloud integration.
Cloud integration, correct. So Chrome is there, Firefox is there, IE is there, Safari is there, Edge is there, Opera is there. All major browsers are supported. Anything else apart from the browsers? Multi-platform, multi-OS, correct. Multi-OS, multi-platform support. So we can run our code on Windows, on Linux, on Mac, on Solaris, on iOS, on Android. All these operating systems are supported by Selenium, right? Not by Selenium, basically by your language. If we talk about VB script, which company owns VB script? Microsoft, correct.
Microsoft,
right? And if we talk about VB script, which operating system supports VB script? Only and only Windows. Right? So it means when you are automating your project, I mean, you have got a requirement from a client that you need to fully automate this project, and you need to test it on various platforms. You cannot do that with QTP. You can only run it on Windows. Whereas you never know that end user is using Mac machine or Linux machine or any other operating system. So client want that his product should be fully tested on all major operating system, all major browsers. Whereas QTP only works on Windows. So this is one of the biggest drawback. Whereas if we talk about Selenium, multi-language support, just if we talk about Java, if you have ever installed Java, the very first message you're going to see is that 3 billion devices runs on Java. So be it Linux, Mac, Android, iOS, any operating system that you name is supported by Java. And if you're running your Selenium code in Java, you can execute that code in any platform you want, and that too without any license. So all the major integrations that we are going to do with Selenium, you need not to pay anything for any license. Just that if you use any cloud integration, like there are some specific requirements, you want to run your test on hundreds of machines, on hundreds of devices, and you don't want to invest in the infrastructure, then you go for that cloud integration called as Sauce Labs, Browser Stack, and number of platforms are there, and then you need to pay for their services. But Selenium is not saying that you do all those cloud integration. That is your requirement. Right, whatever we are integrating with Selenium, like a lot of things we'll be using. Have you heard about other integrations? What all things you have heard with Selenium that we'll be using?
SAP integration.
SAP is okay. SAP integration. Anything else that you've heard that we can integrate with Selenium? Or let me know what all components are there for Selenium. How many components are there? We have ID, RC, 2 components.
We have grid.
WebDriver.
Components.
Correct. So these are the 4 major components in Selenium. And out of this, which one market is using?
WebDriver.
WebDriver.
They are using WebDriver as well as they are using Grid. IDE is just a record and play plugin. It's a plugin to your browser. Something like this. If I go to any website, let's say the plugin is this. This is Selenium IDE. It's a plugin to Chrome browser. It is available for Firefox browser as well. So simply, it's like a record and play. Every automation tools comes with some record and play feature. If we talk about QTP, they have invested majorly in their record and play functionality. Whereas the record and play of Selenium is not that popular. It's not that robust, or like we cannot use this ID if you're automating a large project. This is only for playing around. I mean, in case you want to play a little bit around Selenium, you can use this record and play. You can click on record a new test. Let's say give this test name as Google project, and then click on OK. Then previously it is available only for Firefox. Now it is available for both Firefox as well as Chrome. And click on start recording. You can see a browser launch. Here I'm going to type something Selenium. Click on this. Go to the very first site, and then see Selenium ID is recording. Now I can go over here. You can see all these steps are added over here. These recorded over here. Click on stop. Give your test name as anything like Google test. Click on OK. And then what you can do, you can export this test. Normally what we do, we export this test, click on export and go to desktop, say Google test, and see one Java file downloaded. And if I open this Java file, so you can see a code is auto written over here. But this coding is not at all complex. We are going to see this, at least this much in today's session as well. And this is very easy. Normally what we do with record and play, once we are done with record and play, we click on this play button and it performs all these actions. See, not even this, and it has executed everything. So this is what record and play functionality is. But if it's a small website, just a couple of static pages, you can easily automate it using IDE. But if it is a dynamic application, a banking domain, a health domain, an e-commerce domain, you cannot automate it with IDE at all. And there is a reason behind it. The reason is that Selenium, if we talk about these components of Selenium, these are used only and only 25% in your automation project. The framework that you'll be designing, Selenium is used only 25%. What are other things that we are going to integrate with Selenium?
Jenkins, Maven,
Jenkins, Maven,
TestNG.
TestNG. Anything else?
Git,
Git, extend reports.
Extend reports.
Yeah.
Major part is taken by core Java, right? Anything else?
data driven,
Java Mail API, Apache Poi, Apache Log4j, correct? Anything else apart from this? Something called as Docker, AWS, right? A lot of these stuffs are there. So without using this, you cannot complete an automation project. Just by using Selenium, you cannot build an automation project, right? So what are the purpose of this? These things are not owned by Selenium. Selenium has nothing to do with these things. But without using these things, you cannot build a project. You cannot build an automation project. And all these things are open source. So we are not going to pay even a single rupee or a single penny to use Jenkins, to use Maven, to use TestNG, extend report. You need not to pay anything. And you can easily integrate all these things with Selenium. Any third-party package. This is one of the best things with Selenium. Now, how come this is best? See, if we talk about QTP as an automation tool, right? QTP is an automation tool. The very first thing about Selenium is not a tool. Selenium is not a tool because you don't get any setup file in Selenium. You will not see any exe like that. You download it from a website, double click, do next, and it gets installed on your machine. And like the way it is with UFT, right? UFT QTP, you can go to their website, you download a software. It's more than like 1 GB file you're going to get. You just double click on it, install, It provides you a platform to do record and play, to do scripting. You can use various features from that automation tool, but it is not like that with Selenium. You cannot see Selenium, right? Selenium is not a GUI. There is no UI for Selenium. Although there is a plugin ID, but I'm not talking about ID. ID is nowhere used in the industry. The actual Selenium that is used in the industry, it has no UI. You cannot install it. You can only configure it. If Selenium is not a tool, what exactly is Selenium? Selenium is an API. Selenium, you can call it as a framework. It's a framework. Or you can call it as a set of libraries, right? Collection of libraries. It's a project. It's a project which is initially designed in Java and now available in multiple languages. So if you are using Selenium with Java, you'll be getting Selenium in a form of a jar file. If you are using it with C#, you'll be getting it in a form of a DLL file. If you're using it with Python, you'll be getting a pip package manager, right? In case you are using Ruby, you'll be getting a gem file. For PHP, there are different bindings. For JavaScript, there are different bindings available. So that is how Selenium is available. These are just libraries. You cannot install them. You have to consume them in your existing project. So how that thing will be done, that we'll be discussing about once we start with the prerequisite of Selenium. But this is very important to understand. One is the brief history of Selenium, and second, what exactly is Selenium, how we are saying that it's a framework, it's not a tool. Then how are we going to use it? When I'm saying that Selenium is an API, what exactly is an API? So what is an API? Can anyone tell me what is an API? Anyone, guys, what is an API?
It's basically an interface.
Sorry?
Application programming interface.
Application programming interface. Okay, that's basically a full form of API. But what exactly is inside an API? What do we have inside API?
Code.
Code, correct. What else? What do we have in that code?
Parameters.
Sorry?
Parameters.
Parameters. Okay. See, when I'm talking about API, don't just relate it with REST API or the web services part. API itself is a huge term. It covers a lot of things. Web services are also APIs. What
Two
else?
applications interacting with each other, means communicating with each other.
Two applications interacting with each other. So I can say in terms of Selenium, Selenium is one application and Eclipse is one application. And then Eclipse is going to interact with Selenium. We'll be using Selenium in our project. So our project is basically interacting with the Selenium API. And then it is performing action on the website. But what is there inside API? What is there inside the Selenium API?
API is like usable, ready usable function. Like if you want to automate date function, right? In manually we are like taking date and writing. Whereas if you automate and create a function that takes all the data in some format, then that is called an API. Already
Absolutely.
like ready-made build functions kind of.
Absolutely. A project which is already built. That project is built up in some programming language, and that contains a lot of classes, a lot of interface, a lot of functions, a lot of methods, right? A project which is already designed, already developed. We are not designing it. Let's say someone designed a project to like a calculator. Someone has created a code for adding numbers, subtracting numbers. A code is completely ready to use. So when as an end user, you want to add something or you want to subtract something, you're not going to create a calculator. Calculator is already created. That functionality is already created. Maybe you want to consume some functionality in your project for adding, subtracting from that project. Then you can take a help of that project. That project will act as an API to your project. So let us understand this thing practically, because this is very important to understand. So let's say I am working as a Java developer.
One thing here, like
Yeah.
when you say it is an API, so it is a set of API. So we are getting it in a jar kind
Yes.
of a thing. It's a set of APIs, if we say.
Yeah,
So,
you can call Selenium as an API. You can call, because Selenium is an integration of a lot of other APIs as well. So a lot of other projects are integrated in Selenium.
Okay.
Right.
So
so you can call it as a
contain...
collection of API, or you can call it as an individual API as well.
So I mean, basically, if you use Eclipse and there is a code, Java code, and in that code, Java code, we are using those APIs only. This is what we are doing to automate the web base.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Right. So it will be very much clear. I mean, after today's session, it will be very much clear what exactly is Selenium and how we're going to use it and why we call it as an API. So it will be very
Rahul,
much
just I wanted to know, like, what is the exact difference between API and web service? Why?
See,
Because like as I've seen some examples, like if I'm installing an Uber application, in that I'm seeing maps. So maybe like as per my understanding, they are taking they are taking help of Google Maps or Google Maps API just for showing that entire map. But that is not an API exactly, but that is web service as per what I know. So what is the exact difference between that?
See, that is also acting as an API, because that is a medium. So you are not directly talking to the Google Maps. They have given you some API in a form of JSON or XML. You are sending your request to that JSON XML, and that XML or JSON is further communicating with the Google Maps once the authorization is successful. So once the authorization is successful, it is going to send a request to Google Map, and then Google Map is further going to send the response to that API, and then that API is going to send the response to your client. Client is your code, the code that you are writing, your project. So you're going to see the response over there. So you're not directly communicating with. So that medium is basically your API. So we generally call it as a backend APIs. So backend testing.
So it's a kind of like API is a kind of bridge which is getting created between my client and the server from where I'm taking the service.
Yeah, bridge between two applications as well. So there are two applications as well, they interact. So application, if I talk about, let's say Make My Trip is an application. When you do some searches, let's say you search for a flight from Delhi to Mumbai, right? So you get a lot of airlines. You get SpiceJet, you get Indigo, you get a number of airlines, Air India, right? So how come Make My Trip know the schedule of all these flights? And when you book the ticket, then you are able to successfully book the tickets as well. Now, on the other end, Uipath is also offering the same service. Expedia is also offering the same service. So let's say you're booking a ticket of Delhi to Mumbai, and you are reserving the first seat in that particular airline. And on the same time, let's say I am also booking the same ticket and I'm trying to reserve the first seat. So will both of us be able to reserve the first seat?
No.
Then how come Make My Trip is having the complete, are they having the complete database of Air India? They're not having any database. They don't have any information of Air India. Air India actually provides their API to them. Now, whenever you are searching, the request is sent to that API, and that API hits the Air India database, and then it fetches the records. And same thing every application is doing. Even Expedia, even Uipath, whenever you are searching for the flights, so they are hitting the APIs, and API is provided by the vendor, by Air India, by SpiceJet. They provide their own APIs. And that API is hitting the database and fetching the information. And if once a ticket is booked, the request is sent to that API books the ticket, send back you the response. The second website cannot book that particular ticket, because again, that second website is hitting the same API. So that is what, I mean, the API is like a medium. You cannot directly come. So here, one application is interacting to other application. Make My Trip is one application, Air India is one application. And same thing we are doing with Selenium. So we are taking a project which is already built. We are not designing anything to automate a website, right? While automating a website, what we'll be doing? We'll be launching a browser, we'll be clicking on links, we'll be entering something into the input text. And for that, we need to write some code. But that code is not like we are going to write from scratch. If we want to type something, there is a functionality already created for it. You just need to call that functionality and you need to type. And in order to call that functionality, you need to know basic programming. Basic programming as in what is a class, what are functions, what are methods, how to call methods. So these things you must have studied maybe long time back, and you might have forgot all the programming part. But once you brush up these things now in the practical environment, you should be able to pick up these things easily. And we are not designing, we are not developing anything. We are not developers. We are using the existing Selenium API for testing purpose, right? So we are not designing it. So we need not to know that level of Java in order to develop something, right? So once we get started, slowly and slowly, these things will be more clear. There are many new people who might not know what is an API and might getting confused when I'm taking example of Make My Trip or Air India, because this is something which we'll be exploring in our upcoming lectures, not in the very beginning lectures, right? So don't worry about it, guys. For the very first 2 sessions, even if we are going to write a little bit code as well, don't worry about it if you're not able to understand, if you're very new to the programming world, because after these 2 sessions, we are going to start with the core Java from very scratch. And once your Java sessions are done, you'll be repeating these 2 sessions again. So don't worry about it. Okay, so I was taking a simple example. Let us understand what is an API, and so that in order to work on Selenium, we should be knowing whether it is an API or what exactly Selenium is. So let's say I'm a Java developer and I got a task to design a calculator. So in a calculator, there are various operations available. I can add something, subtract something, divide something, multiply something, and so on. Now, as a Java developer, when I have to design a calculator, I'll be writing some code. So in that, I'll be creating a class called as calculator. I hope everyone must have at least read about what class is, or must have heard about there is something called as class. Is there anyone who is very new, might not have heard about what classes are, what objects are? Anyone? You can be very frank. Don't worry about it. There might be someone who is from mechanical background or some other background, not from completely technical background. So might not have heard about a class object. I know 90% of you must have heard about it. But for other 10% people, don't worry about it. In case you've never heard about it, just try to digest today's session as it is, right? Once we go to the core Java part, everything ABC of classes and objects will be covered. So don't worry. So what do we have inside class? Methods, right? Methods, function. See, in case we are working in C++ or C#, we call these things as methods, these things as functions. If we are working in Java, functions are called as methods. So methods, function, both are same thing. If I'm saying function, I'm referring methods only, right? So there is a, like all these things, functionality, I'll be designing in the form of a method inside this class. So let's say I design a method called as add. In this method, I'm going to write some code which is going to add some numbers. Then I'll be creating a method called as subtract, and I'm going to write some code which is going to subtract some number. Same way, I'll be creating divide, I'll be creating multiply, and so on. So one by one, I'll be creating all the functionality, and I'll be keeping it inside a calculator class. Now, let's assume the complete calculator project is designed. All these functionalities are created. Now I want to test whether addition is working fine or not, subtraction is working fine or not. So what I need to do, I need to call this addition method from this calculator class. Now, how to call a method from a class?
You need to create object of the class.
Creating an object of a class. And what is the syntax?
Class name.
Class
Object.
Object.
Equal to new.
What name should I give?
OBJ.
Could be any name, right? Equal to
new class name, and then parameters if there are any.
So calculator obj equal to new calculator. We can give any name over here. Instead of this, I can give ABC as well. We generally give it a meaningful name. So I'll say calci, calculator calci equal to new calculator, right? And now how to call a method? Calci
Object name.
Calci dot method name.
Calci dot method name, correct. Calci dot subtract, calci dot divide, and so on. One by one, I can call all the methods. If I run this code, it is going to execute addition, subtraction, everything. But in order to call this method, the very first thing, you need to create an object of a class. And this is a statement which actually creates an object of this class. But in this statement, what is an object?
Object is a kind of variable of that class.
Variable is, which is the variable in this statement?
CLC.
CLC. So you mean to say calci is an object, right?
Yeah, calci is an object of, no, calci is an object, but in normally speaking, it's a kind of variable of class data type.
Variable of class data type.
Yeah, class is not a data type for sure, but like, yeah, it will depict that class.
So you are saying this is a
class.
You are saying this is a data type?
No, it's not a data type. It's a class name, but CLC is a object which we can consider as a variable of that class data type.
So can I call it as a class or can I call it as a type?
It is a class.
It's a class. Okay. How about others? Class. Some people are saying type. Some people are saying class. Some people are saying this is object. Some people are saying this is a reference variable. Okay. What is this?
Object.
Is this an object?
It's a keyword.
It's a
Keyword.
Keyword.
And this?
It is the assignment operator.
Assignment operator. Correct. And what is this?
Constructor.
Constructor. That's great. So let us look at these things practically. As in previous time, people used to write Java code in Notepad, but time has changed. Many editors available in the market with artificial intelligence. If we are not good in coding, these editors help us a lot. So if we make any mistake, they provide us suggestions. If let's say there are 100 methods in a class, we need not to learn all the methods. We simply say calci dot and it shows list of all the methods and we can easily pick the methods from there and use it, right? So some editors are paid, some are open source. Eclipse is there, IntelliJ is there, NetBeans is there, PyCharm is there, and number of editors are there in the market. So Eclipse is the very popular editor, very widely used in the industry. So we'll be using Eclipse itself, Eclipse IDE. IDE is not like Selenium IDE, it's an integrated development environment. But there is a prerequisite to get started with Eclipse is that you need to have Java installed on your machine. Java as in JDK, Java Development Kit. The latest version of Java, I guess it's 18. I don't recommend you to use the latest version. There are some challenges you may gonna face later on integrating with Jenkins, Maven, in case you use the latest version. The most stable version of JDK is Java 8, that is JDK 1.8 or Java 11. So out of these two, you can use any of these versions. I preferably love using JDK 1.8. Everything is successfully supported with this particular version, right? Whatever Java that I need is supported, whatever Selenium integration, anything that is required is easily supported by Java 8. So I would recommend, in case you are starting with Selenium, if you have Java already installed on your machine and if it is the latest version 16, 17, 18, just go to control panel and uninstall it. It won't hamper any running program. Don't worry about it. So this JDK 1.8, where you can get it simply from Google, say download JDK 1.8. So you're going to get it from the Oracle website. Go to this link. When you are downloading it for the very first time, like you can see Java is available for different platforms: Linux, Mac, Solaris, Windows. If your Windows is 64-bit, you need to download this. If it is 32-bit, you need to download this. This comes as a exe file. Installing Java is very simple task. Just download it, double click, you get a exe file, double click, like you're installing a normal software. Next, it gets installed. Now, Oracle has actually like done some changes. Now, if you're downloading it, you directly cannot download it. You need to create a simple account in Oracle website. So you need to log in from your account. As soon as you create a free account, you'll get a exe file, you download it and install it. So during the installation, once the Java is installed, you'll find Java inside C drive, program files, and if you open it, you'll see a folder of Java over here. So Java is this. If you open this, you'll see two things. One is JDK, one is JRE. JDK stands for Java Development Kit. JRE is Java Runtime Environment. Now, what are these two things? Don't worry about it right now. These will be covered in the very first session of Java. So if you open this JDK folder, you'll find a bin folder, and inside this, you'll find Java over here. Now, before we get started with any Java program, or before we get started using Eclipse, the very first thing is to configure Java globally on your machine in something called as environment variables. So what you need to do, this is the root path of Java, your JDK folder. You need to go to start, click on edit. You'll see edit system environment variables. Click on this, and here you need to click on environment variable. You'll see two things. One is user variable and one is system variable. You need not to do anything in the user variable. Under the system variable, click on new and create a new variable name. So that general name is Java Home that everyone uses in the industry. And paste the path of this JDK folder. Copy this root path and paste it here. Click on OK. You'll see a variable created, Java Home, which is holding this particular value. Now we go down, we'll see a path variable, which is already there. If you edit it, you see a lot of configurations already there. So these are the configuration when you install, let's say, your operating system or different software. So most of things are like your system 32 file and other softwares, they automatically add these path over here. So don't try to edit it or delete it. Otherwise, that program might get corrupt or your Windows might get corrupt. So these are very crucial settings. You just need to click on new. At the end, type %Java_home%. So when you type this Java Home value up till the JDK folder will gonna come over here. And where is Java? It is inside the bin folder. So you'll say \bin. That's it. I've already done it over here. I'm not going to redo it. Let me delete it. So once you do it, click on OK, click on OK, click on OK, and Java is successfully configured. If you open up command prompt and type Java-version, you should be able to see the current version of Java on your machine, like mine is 1.8. Now, why we set environment variables? This is a question by Vishal. So Vishal, normally what happens, as I say, that when we are working with Selenium, we need to do a lot of other integration, Jenkins, Maven, and then even we are using Eclipse. These are the things which is not going to work on your machine if they don't get access of Java. If you don't know where Java is there on your machine, they're not going to work. Right. So individually to each and everything, it is difficult to tell, okay, Java is inside C drive, program files, and then Java, then JDK folder. It is difficult to tell because we'll be using a lot of components that need access to Java. So that is the reason we configure Java globally in the environment variables. So once we configure it in the environment variable, we can access Java anywhere from any location on our machine. whichever project it needs the access of Java can check it from the environment variable. So that is the reason, what is the importance of setting environment variables.
Rahul, one question here. Like in that window, you showed why we are adding it 2 times. Like first for environment and in that below window also.
So in
Adding-
the environment variable,
Yeah. This first window and the second window also.
this
Yeah,
is the
right.
user variable.
What does that mean?
This is, I mean, you create some user variables when you need to explicitly call them in some project. So we don't do anything over here right now.
Okay. Only we need to add into under the system variable.
Under system variable only. Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. So once we are done with this, the next prerequisite is to download Eclipse. So Eclipse.
So,
yeah.
Yeah, sorry to cut. Rahul, so when I entered in the command prompt as Java -version, it showed me 16.0.1.
So it means you already have Java 16 installed on your machine.
So is it the one you are trying to say to delete or need to install?
Yes. Go to control panel. Let me tell you how you're going to do it. Go to control.
Yeah, but already if there are some programs in it.
Don't worry about those programs. If you uninstall it and install JDK 1.8, it is going to work fine. So don't worry. No, none of the program is going to break. But if in case you still have some doubt, just keep Java 16 as it is, because if most of the things are working fine on your machine, if you don't want to remove it right now, for initial sessions, you don't need it. Because initial session basic Java is same for Java 8 as well as for Java 16. And you can even start using Selenium as well using Java 16. But later on, when you do integrations in upcoming session, then you may gonna face issues, and then is the time when you need to uninstall it and install the JDK.
So like you said, for initial coding, can we keep as is so that, you know,
that's what
I
I
can
said.
at least start
Just
learning the code. Yeah, okay.
Keep it as it is.
Okay.
Don't worry. Don't delete it. Okay, now we'll be downloading Eclipse. Download Eclipse. So we'll go to this particular link. And you see a download option over here. Don't download it from here. Go to download packages. Because there are so many components in Eclipse as well. So if you see over here, Eclipse ID for Java developers, Eclipse ID for like the Eclipse, there are a lot of components. You can use Eclipse for C, C++, Java, PHP, Ruby, Python. Multiple languages are supported by Eclipse. So for the timing, we need Eclipse only for basic core Java. We'll be using this version, Eclipse ID for enterprise Java version, right? And this as well, I don't recommend you to download this one because this may not gonna support Java 11 or Java 1.8. So what you need to do, just see there is a section called as more downloads. And here you will find 2021-06. Click on this. So from here, you get the same component and download it for Windows, for Mac, for Linux, for all operating system Eclipse is available. If you click on it, you get a zip file. So a zip file, see somewhere around 500 MB zip file. I've already downloaded it. So once you download it, you're gonna see the zip file like this. So go to D drive and softwares, and here you see this is the file that I downloaded. So once you unzip it, you get a folder. Open it, you get this Eclipse. Nothing installable. Just double click on this application and your Eclipse will be launched. So first thing, it is going to ask you that select a directory as a workspace. Now workspace is basically a location where you'll be maintaining your project code. Any piece of code you'll be writing must be saved at some location. That is what your workspace is. So I generally give the workspace name as a batch name. So I'm going to name this batch as batch. We are officially going to start from June, I mean the next week. So I'll be giving it as June 2022 Selenium. And click on launch.
Now just like sorry to interrupt. Actually, I have a Mac, and in this I have installed Eclipse long back, and I'm even practicing a bit of Java. but when I'm trying to check down on my terminal, this Java hyphen version, it is showing that unable to locate a Java runtime.
So
So
it means you have not set up your environment variables in Mac. So there's a different process of setting up the environment variables in Mac. So like you can either ping me separately. I'll give you there's something called as bash profile that you need to set up. So I'll give you those settings. You can add those settings and it will gonna work. So installing Java will remain same. You need to download the DMG file from website and first install it. And then there's a location on Mac where the Java gets installed. So you need to add that path in your bash profile. So I'll tell you how you need to do it. There is a video also for that. So I'm gonna share you that video. You can follow step by step and you should be able to do it.
Okay, thank you for that.
All right. So see, this is your Eclipse. So here you can see this is a project explorer. You'll be creating a project. You'll be adding classes to that project. This is where you'll be writing the code, and here you're going to get the output of that code. So for the timing, since we are going to start as a Java developer, and I'm going to make you understand what exactly is an API. So I'm designing a project of calculator. So you need not to design it parallelly on your machine. Just try to understand the concept, right? Don't practice along with me. Just try to understand the concept. In case you face any issues, any queries you have, you can ask it there and then, but don't practice it parallelly. You'll be getting this recording. So once we are done, you get the recording and then you can practice it on your machine, right? So let's click on create a project. From here, we'll be selecting a Java project. Click on next. And let us give some name to this project. So I'm going to give it a name as calculator project. You can give any name and click on finish. And don't select this module name, I guess. Okay, that's fine. I guess Java 16 was added. There are multiple versions in this Eclipse. So I'm gonna change this to Java 8. Don't worry about this step. So somehow Java 16 got added. I need to select it while creating this project. Just give me a moment. Let me create it again. So from here, we need to select Java SE 1.8. Right. And then we'll be saying calc project. Click on finish, click on open, and a calculator project is created. Right. So when the project is created, you'll be seeing two things. One is the SRC folder and one is the JRE system library. So these are some, if you expand it, you'll see a lot of things. These are basically jar files. These are the internal classes of Java. Right. You don't need to do anything with this right now. This is the SRC folder where you'll be creating your new classes. So let's right click on this, say new, and click on class. And this is the template we got. So here we need to give the class name. Now class name always starts with a capital letter. It's not like even if I started with a small letter, it is not allow me. It will not allow me to do that, or it is going to throw some error. This is something called as industry standard, something called as camel casing. I'll tell you what camel casing is, but let us create a class name by saying calculator. So we are creating a class called as calculator. Check this public static void main. Click on finish. You'll see a code added over here. Let me increase the font size. Now there are some things which are in reddish color, something in black color. All these reddish color stuff are predefined keywords. So what is public, what is class, what is static? There is a whole big lecture in core Java for these things. You need not to worry about it. Like public, private, protected, these are called as access modifiers, access specifiers, right? This static, non-static, we have static keywords, non-static keywords, static method, non-static method, void, string, int as a return type to a method. This thing is a method. This thing is a class. This is a main method. By default method in Java, in case you need to execute anything in Java, it has to be inside this main method. For example, if I talk about, let's say, a C language, how to print in C?
C out.
C out. C.
Yeah. No, it wasn't C++. Printer.
Printer.
Scan. Printer
Correct.
and scanner.
Correct. C++ is
C in, C out.
C and C out. And how about core Java?
System.out.println.
System out println. Correct. So anything we keep inside it, let's say I'll write the very first program of any programming language is to print hello world. So let's click, this is the run button. Let's click on this and you'll see hello world is printed, right? Vishal is asking why we are not downloading Eclipse. You can download any Eclipse version that supports Java because we need basic core Java, right? So, I mean, this component has some additional plugins in it, like Maven is already inbuilt in it. Then there are some other things as well, which will be using it later on, which might not be there in a very basic component. So that's the reason we use the enterprise level version, right? Okay, so we're not here to print hello world. We are here to develop this calculator, and in a calculator, there are various methods available, addition, division. That is what I'm going to create now. So I'm going to create a method called as add. Now, when we are creating a method name always start from a small letter. Again, it is not like if I started with a capital letter, it is going to throw any error. It is not, it is not going to throw any error. Just that it is an industry standard. So there's something called as camel casing. Now, what is a camel casing? Basically, let's say there are three words: the dark night. If I read it like this way, this is not very readable. So in order to make it readable, let's say if it is a class name, then I'm going to start it with a capital letter. Anything joining will be in caps. Same way, if it is a method name, starts with a small letter, anything joining must be in caps. So this is in a form of a camel C. This is what is called as camel cases. So next time, if you're going to read the Java project for any other developer, you will find that you'll be able to understand, okay, this is a class, this is a method, right? Even if you read any Java project, not just calculator, be it a Selenium project, be it a APM project, you're going to find the classes are written in the same way. Methods are written in the same way. You should be easily able to understand that. So that is the reason everyone in the industry follow the same process. So we'll be doing the same process itself. Now, in this addition method, I'm going to write some code, which is going to add some numbers. But right now, let's assume we don't know coding. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to print something. Let's say adding some numbers. Adding some numbers. Same way, I'm going to copy this. So once you call this add method, it is not going to add something. It is going to print only, adding some numbers. Same way, I'm going to create, after add, I'm going to create subtract. So it will be subtracting some numbers. Then multiply. It's going to multiply some numbers. Then divide. And it's going to divide some numbers. So let's assume I've created the complete project. Now I want to call this addition method. And for that, we know what we need to do. We need to create an object of this class. So where is that class? This is how we have created it, right? So I'm just going to copy this as it is. And I'm going to go over here inside the main method because the execution starts from here. And I'm going to paste this. See, I'm not getting any error. This is a correct statement. So, I mean, if I write calculators instead of calculator, you can see Eclipse is throwing error. When you do a mouse over, it is saying that calculator cannot be resolved to a type. See the very first thing, type. This thing is actually called as a type. You can relate it with a data type as well, right? Because this is holding some value. Inside this, I mean, like you'll be creating a variable and the variable must have some type in Java. There are other languages like Python, like JavaScript, where you need not to define. If you don't define any variable, that is all, don't define any type, that is also defined. That is also fine. You can simply create a variable. But in case of Java, the type is very important. Without type, you cannot create a variable. You cannot store a value in that variable, right? You have to tell that variable that what sort of value that you are going to store. Are you going to store an integer value? Are you going to store a string value, or you are going to store some object inside it? And object will be of what type? Will be of that particular class type. So that is the reason it is called as a type. So Eclipse is giving a suggestion: create class calculators or change it to calculator. So if I click on this, see it changed to calculator, right? So this is a correct statement. Now, if I do calc dot, I get access to addition method, division method, multiplication method, subtraction. So all these methods are there. I can simply call them one by one. So I call calc dot add, click on run. You can see adding some numbers. Then I go over here, I'll say calc dot subtract, calc dot divide, calc dot multiply. Save it, run it, and you will see all the methods are successfully called. Now there is one more method which has got a same name as of the class name. What is that called? Yes. A method having a same name as of the class name.
Constructor.
Constructor.
Sorry?
Constructor.
Constructor. See, return, Lovepreet, the return types are with the methods only. Right? What class is going to return? Which class it is going to return? So return types are with methods. It can return you string int, or it can also return the object of a class. All right. So constructor, not constructor overloading. So this is a by default constructor, right? Overloading comes when we, yeah, you can call it, but I mean, normally when we have another constructor created, then we add more arguments to that. So we can call it as a constructor overloading. But yes, even if we don't have any constructor created explicitly, there is a by default constructor of that class, right? So what is a constructor? What exactly is a constructor? Anyone? It shares same name as of the class name. That's correct. Anything else? Help to initiate the global variables. Correct. Used to assign values to the variables itself. First method to be executed. Correct. So all these things are correct for the constructor. So basically, this is like a method only. If I'm saying it is like a method, I can write some code inside this as well. So I can write a code, let's say calling constructor, right? So let's call this method. Let's go over here and call it by saying calc dot. Oh, I'm not getting it. So why I'm not able to access this method? This is because this thing is not a method. You cannot call it explicitly like addition, division, subtraction. Even if you don't call these methods, you write just this statement and run it, the very first thing that will be automatically called is a constructor. Because the constructor is something which is having the same name as of the class name, and this is the very first thing that is called as soon as when an object is created. So object is created, automatically the constructor is called. Right? So we were talking about what is an object inside this statement. Let's assume this is an object. So I'm going to remove this. See, this is still a valid statement. No errors are there. Now, if this is an object, if I run this, will the constructor be called or not? No. So if the constructor is not called, then it is not an object. Okay, some people are saying yes. No. Let's run it. Let's see. See, nothing called. It means this is not an object. Right? So let's do one thing. Let's remove this. Why we need it? Just remove this. If this is not an object, remove that. So now tell me, is this an object? If I run this, will the constructor be called? Yes, see, all yes. Correct. See, constructor called. So it means this is what is creating an object in a memory. If this is an object, then why we need calc? We can directly use this. Why we need calc? To store what?
To store the address of the object,
But why is that required?
so that we don't have to call like addition, subtraction, different method. We have to create object every time if we don't have the like some reference variable.
Correct. So to call other methods from the class, we need some reference variable, right? We cannot call it every time with the new calculator. But we can still call methods, right? We can still call method. We still call addition, division without calc. Can we? No? Yes? Yes or no? With static, see, right now we have not discussed anything related to static. Don't worry about static thing right now. See, most of the people are saying no. I can still call it. See, new calculator.add and run this. See, adding some numbers. But what if I want to call division now? I again need to do the same stuff. New calculator.divide. New calculator.multiply, new calculator.subtract. And if I run this now, you will see that constructor is called 4 times. So it means 4 objects are created in a memory. So that's a wastage in the memory, right? Unnecessary. If we have to call 100 methods, we are going to create 100 objects, right? So we should not be doing like that way. So what we did, wherever the object is created in the memory, we are going to store the address of that object in some variable. Variable could be ABCD, could be EXE, OBJ, or any meaningful name calc. Now, every variable must have some type, right? Like I was talking about, if I have to store a value 100 in some variable, value equal to 100, what will be the type of this variable? See, everyone knows, right? But what if I want to store my name in it? Can I store it in int?
Yeah, character would be the data type then, CHAR.
Are you sure?
It should be string.
It should be
Data
string.
is string.
And it has to be in double quotes, right?
In double quotes. Right.
So string. So it means I cannot store like characters in int. I cannot store numeric value in string. So every value has its own type where I will be storing it. So if the value is like some characters, it should always be stored inside string. So what is string, by the way? In Java, what is string? Object?
No, it's a class.
It's a class.
Argument. Yeah, it's a class.
It's a class. String is a class. It's a data type as well, and it's a class as well. If you mouse over on this, you can see the string class. So if this is a class, then what is value?
It's variable.
It's a variable, a reference variable, not object, right? Object reference, you can call it. So if you say object reference dot, you should be able to access all the methods from this string class. These methods are coming from string class, right? And same way, like you cannot store numeric values in string, you cannot store character values in int. So if you are storing this value in some variable, this type cannot be of string, this type cannot be of int. This has to be of the same class type. So that is the reason we call it as a type. This is a variable or an object reference or a reference variable. This is an assignment operator. This is a new keyword. This is your constructor. And this whole thing is creating an object, right? Very, very basic. Although these things we'll be learning in Java. So don't worry about it. People who are very new and not able to understand these concepts at this moment, don't worry about it. Just try to digest it as it is, because we'll be seeing what level of programming that is required to get started with Selenium. Do we need to know advanced Java, or are the basic concepts going to work in Selenium? So that is what we are trying to see, because Selenium is not a tool. We are not going to do any record and play, right? So now if we say calc.add, calc.divide, calc.subtract, calc.multiply, save it, run it again, you'll see that only one object is created. Constructor is called only once, and all the methods are referred from the same object reference, right? So very basic concept. Now let's say the calculator project is completed and I want to publish this project in the market. I have written some 100 lines of code over here, some 500 lines of code over here, and I don't want that anyone who wants to add something, subtract something, should again invest his complete time and effort and redesign the functionality. I want to launch this project as an open source project, free of cost project. Open source does not only means free of cost. Open source means anyone can contribute into the development of this project as well. So next time, let's say I want to add something, subtract something, then I can get access of this project free of cost. I need not to pay any license to add or subtract. And let's say if someone is coming from a development background and he really likes this project and he want to contribute into the development of this project, want to create a method calculating percentage, square root, and number of other things in the calculator, so he is most welcome. He can add his code. So that is what open source project means, right? Now, I want this project to be accessed from any part of the world. So what we need to do will be generating a jar file out of this project. So I'm going to right click on this, go to export, click on Java, select jar file, click on next, and we'll store it on desktop. I'll name it as, let's say, calculator version 1.0.jar, the very first version of my project, and click on save, click on finish. Now, if I go back to my desktop, you'll see a calculator jar is created. Now, it's nothing like I can double click on it and it is going to install calculator on my machine. It is not going to do any installation. With this jar file, you're only going to come to know how many classes are there, how many methods are there, right? Even if the developer has not given you access to the code, you cannot see what is written inside addition method, but you can call the addition method with the help of this jar file. Now, what I did, I uploaded this jar file on my website, because website can be accessed from any part of the world. Next time, if someone from, let's say, UK or someone from US, he wants to add, subtract something, he can visit my website, download this jar file and use it in his project, and can do addition, division. No need to pay anything. So now, let's say once this project is completed, I have left this organization. So I'm going to close this project. Let us close it. And I joined another company, again, as a Java developer. And this time I have joined, let's say, American Express. I've joined Amex project, right? And click on finish. So let's assume their website was also designed in Java. And the project was already there. I was hired in between of this project. So they already have some classes available called as banking. In this class, there was some, let's add a main method as well over here. There was some methods functionality already available for calculating profit. So let's say a method called as profit, a method called as loss. So all these methods were already there. I was hired in between of this project, and they asked me to implement a functionality to add salaries for a number of employees. So something related to, I need to design an addition method over here as well. Now, if I talk about the functionality of this addition method, let's assume this is similar to what I have designed in the previous organization, in the calculator project. Same code, I need to write it over here. Now, there are two ways I can write it. Either I should start writing it from scratch, but it was like 100 lines of code. It may take me hours to finish it. So why should I add that much effort if it is already available in an open source library? So what I did, I have gone to their website, I downloaded their jar file. Then I right-clicked on this project, I've gone to build path, add external archives. See, external archives. This is an external project. Clicked on this and selected this jar file and clicked on open. So this is added as a reference library to my project. This is a third-party project, right? This has nothing to do with the banking project. But I've added it as a reference library. If I expand it, you're going to see same calculator class and all the methods. But we are not able to see what is written inside addition. And we don't need it as well. We just need this addition functionality. I don't want to see the code. That's fine. So how to call this addition? By creating an object of calculator class. Calculator calc equal to new calculator. See, I'm able to create the object without any issues of this calculator class. Eclipse is able to understand what this calculator is. How? With the help of the jar file. If the jar file is not there, let's say if I go to build path and remove it, see, now it is not able to understand what calculator is. If you mouse over, it will ask you to create a class calculator. But why should we create it? This is already there, but in a third-party project. So we need to add that third-party project in a form of jar file to our project. So that now I can go inside this addition method and I can simply say calc.add. See, completed the entire functionality without writing 100 lines of code. And I can change this method name to, let's say, add salary. Now we need to test whether add salary is working fine or not. So how to call this add salary? By creating object of banking class. So whenever you need to call a method, you need to create an object of that class. So banking b equal to new banking. And if you do b dot add salary, if you call this add salary method, and if you run it, you're gonna see same code is executed. Without rewriting the code, we have achieved that functionality with the help of this jar file. So if we talk about this calculator jar, this is what act as an API to the American Express project. And if we are talking about Selenium, Selenium is one of the same thing. Selenium is available in a form of a single jar file or multiple collection of jar files. In the same project, in case you want to use Selenium, you can use Selenium here as well. What you need to do, you just need to visit the Selenium website, which is the official website of Selenium. Anyone?
Selenium.org.
Selenium.org. See, a lot of people still know seleniumhq.org. Website have changed quite a long time back. So now it is selenium.dev. Initially, it was seleniumhq.org. See, Selenium automates browsers. That's it. It's only for web-based testing. And if you go to download, you can see the latest version of Selenium. Okay, this is very recently launched, I guess today or yesterday itself, because prior to this, it was 4.1.4. So let us try using the latest stable version. So just click on this and see, we got a jar file downloaded. See, just 23 MB jar file. That is what it is required to automate any website. One is your Java, JDK. Second one, Eclipse. Third one is this jar file. And now you need to add this jar file to Eclipse. How are you going to add it to your project? Right click, build path, add external archives, download, and select this jar file and open. See, that's it. And now you can automate any website, any website in the world you want. Okay, there's a question. If we call addition and subtraction method in banking, will constructor be called 2 times? No, there is only one constructor created, right? So it is not, we are creating only one object. We are calling it from this reference. So only one constructor will be called, right? Okay. So now instead of using this banking, I want to automate my website using Selenium classes. So there is a class inside this jar file. Like inside calculator jar file, we have a class called as calculator. In Selenium jar file, we have a class called as Chrome driver. In order to automate my website on Chrome browser, there is a class called as Chrome driver. So Chrome driver equal to new Chrome driver. Just we need to create an object of that class, like we did with calculator. Calculator calc equal to new calculator. Now we are doing Chrome driver equal to new Chrome driver. Just one additional step I'm going to do, and I'll be explaining you why I did that in our tomorrow's session. So this is something called as some executable file, which we need to add it to our project. Now, what this executable is doing, don't worry about it right now. Forget about this step that I have done. Just see that I have created an object of a class like we did it for the calculator project. Now, if I run this, let's see what happens. Okay, this one is an old file. So that's the reason it errored out. So this file is actually required to support the browser version. You can see I got some error over here because this file that I've added is for Chrome browser 98. And the latest version of Chrome is, I guess, 101, something like that. So what I need to do, I'll be going over here. Now, why this file is required? In order to explain you this, I need to explain you the architecture of WebDriver of Selenium. So that will be covering it in our tomorrow's session, right? So the latest browser is Chrome browser 102. So we need to download it for Windows. Same thing, you can do it for Mac and Linux. Let me open this. Copy this and paste it here, and then extract this. And we got the same exe file, right? But with an upgraded version, and paste it. Right, so don't worry about this step. We're gonna learn why we need it. But for the timing, just focus on this. I just created an object of Chrome driver, and when I run this, a browser is launching. See? That's simple. You just need to add this jar file and start automating the website. So just by creating an object of a class, a browser launches. Where is that code written for launching a browser? Where is that code written?
In Chrome drive.
In the
Constructor. Chrome driver constructor.
Selenium server.
Selenium server, it means inside this jar file, right?
Yeah.
Where inside this jar file?
Inside this, there will be Chrome driver class.
Chrome driver class. Where inside the class?
Inside that,
project.
Where inside the Chrome driver class?
Inside in the
A method.
project.
Have you called any method?
no, not yet.
Not yet. So what is called then?
Constructor.
Constructor. I can see a lot of people have already answered. Yes, it's inside a constructor, right? So even if you don't write this, just create an object by calling this and run this, you'll see a browser is going to launch. So it means whosoever developer has created this Chrome driver class must have created a constructor. And in that constructor, he may have written hundreds of lines of code in order to launch a browser. But we are not worried about that because we are not developing Selenium. Selenium is already developed. We just need to call that class and launch a browser and navigate to the website. Right? So that is what we'll be doing as a tester. We'll be creating an object of a class. And now, as soon as the browser launches, we need to navigate to a website. So we're going to do driver dot and see we got list of all the methods from that class. And one of the method we'll be calling is get. So what get is asking us to provide a URL in a form of string. String means double quotes. So double quotes will be providing the URL, let's say http waytoautomation.com. Save this, run this. You're going to see the browser is going to launch. and it is going to navigate to the website. So that is how one by one, now you'll be calling the methods which are already created by those developers. You just need to call those methods, perform action on your website, automate your manual test cases, and completely automate the website. That is how we'll be working on Selenium. So is it that tough that we need to do a record and play and get same code from this, from here? See, initially we just called this one. Even if I start with this one as well, this is very simple to understand. But once we start it, you'll find it very easy. You need not to do a record and play and then use this code. So that is how we'll be working on Selenium. Right? So Selenium, again, we come back to this part that Selenium is only 25%. So we have added Selenium jar file. Now, let's say, let me add one more step over here. Let's say I navigate to google.com. Let me perform one more action. Don't worry about this code. So I'm going to do find element by name q dot send key. So this is some code I'm writing, and I'm just going to type hello Selenium in the Google search box. So if I run this, just a moment. If I run this, what it is going to do, it is going to launch a browser. And then see, it typed hello Selenium over here. Now, when we are executing this code, this is something like I'm automating my manual test cases. Now, one of my manual test case could be user is successfully able to validate whether user is successfully able to navigate to the website. Second test case could be verify user is able to type in the input box. Now let's assume I've executed two test cases. Is Eclipse telling me, or is Selenium telling me out of two test cases, how many are pass, how many are fail? Is it telling somewhere over here? These are just browser debug messages. Don't worry about it. But are we getting anything over here which is telling, okay, out of two test cases, one is pass or one is fail? Are we getting any pass or failure over here? No.
Not here.
Right? Because Selenium task is not to convert this code into test cases or test suites. And this is not even a task of Java. So automatically, it is not going to report, okay, you have executed 500 test cases. Out of that, 400 are pass, 100 are fail. And if 100 are failed, what is the reason of failure? But in manual testing, we do that thing only, right? We validate if expected is equal to actual, then the test cases pass, otherwise the test cases fail. And same thing we needed with automation. We just don't want that, okay, the browser is launching and we are clicking, we are typing, all the actions are being performed for next 4 hours. And at the end, we are not getting any result saying that, okay, these many test cases are passed and these are failed. So what is the purpose of just executing the script? At the end, we should get that thing, right? So that thing, we need to integrate another API, another framework, another jar file, which is called as TestNG. So that is what the role of TestNG. And what TestNG is, this is also a jar file. So if I go over here, I can simply right click, go to build path, add library, TestNG, next, finish, and you will see that TestNG jars are added. Right? Same way, when I'm writing this, hello Selenium, what is this? This is my test data. Normally, we don't hard code the test data. We read it from some external file. Right? Where we maintain test data? In Excel file. Right? So I want to read it from Excel file. Selenium is not going to do any help in reading this data from the Excel file. So there is another third-party project, another API, which is called as Apache Poi. And this is also available in a form of a jar file. Like we added Selenium jar, calculator jar. We need to go to Apache website and we need to download this POI jar. We need to add it in Eclipse in the same project over here. And then we can access the classes and the methods, and we can read and write in the Excel sheet as well. Now, maybe the data is not there in Excel, it is there in the database. I need to fire some queries on the runtime, and then I need to read the data. But I need to do it through the programming way. So there are APIs available in order to perform JDBC, ODBC connection. Your vendors, Oracle, SQL, MySQL, MongoDB, all these provide their own jar files. So you can add another jar file and perform the JDBC connection. Like, okay, we have not written over here. So that is also we are going to cover JDBC. Right? Same way for all these things, for generating logs, there's a jar file. And what is Maven, Jenkins? These are some of the things that we are not going to discuss right now because we are already 2 hours. So, but the main thing that we started with, that Selenium only automates the web part. Then why Selenium is very important? Why, when we talk about automation, the first thing comes is Selenium. If we want to start our career in automation, first thing we learn Selenium. Why? Because Selenium builds your base for automation. If we talk about Selenium, we have just seen Selenium is a jar file. Now, when a framework is developed in a company, a project is, automation project is there, which is using Selenium. Selenium automates only the UI part. What about the API part? These days, one UI interact with other UI using APIs. Until the time the UI is not developed, companies ask you to test the APIs. Let's say login window is not yet designed, but login API is there. So company asks you to test that API and test if everything is working fine or not. User is able to log in successfully with the backend APIs. So API is ready. If you thoroughly test that API, then when it is integrated with the UI, you will hardly find any functionality related issues. You'll only find cosmetic issues. Spelling is not correct, or any text is here or there, formatting issues. These are the issues you're going to find. So that is the reason API testing is also very important. And now for API, are you going to invest in any other tool? Like SOAP UI is a tool, other automation tools are there for API as well. Companies, they don't want that you to do the manual testing. You are into automation now. So you need to automate the API testing part as well. Now, instead of using SOAP UI or any external paid tool, what you can download is another jar file, which is called as Rest Assured. So this is nothing. This is another Java project. Like we have Selenium, we have Rest Assured. So in a same project, you can add this jar file and you can test the APIs, not manually, but through automation. So you can automate the API testing part as well. We can automate database, like we have seen, we just talked about, we can download MySQL, SQL, jar files, and we can automate these queries as well. Same way, if we talk about mobile, we have paid tools, Perfecto is there, n number of tools, Robotium is there, Monkey Talk is there, n number of tools are there. But there are open source tools as well. Most popular tool, you must be knowing about it. So what is there for mobile automation?
APM.
APM, absolutely. And what APM is? It's a jar file. So in the same project, you can add this jar file and you can automate your mobile applications as well. And mobile testing is also very important these days. Every big application, web application, they have their mobile app. Because whenever we are traveling, we don't carry laptop along with us, right? So most of the time, like Amazon, Flipkart, even Google Maps, and of the things, we access it from the mobile part, mobile app. We pay through mobile as well using our credit card, debit card. So if testing of web is important, testing of mobile is also important. If automation of web is there, automation of mobile is also there. The best part is, in order to work on APM, you need not to learn, you need not to add any extra effort or learn a new technology, because APM is basically, APM is a wrapper over WebDriver API. So the way that I've written code over here, Same code is going to work on mobile part as well. Just that instead of Chrome driver, I'll change it to Android driver. And it will start running on my mobile device. And I can perform testing on mobile applications as well. I can make a phone call, I can do a WhatsApp, I can test Facebook, I can test any application that is deployed on my mobile device and without paying any license with the help of APM. So if my project is web-based and mobile-based, I need not to invest on a separate tool. I can integrate all these things in the same tool. Same way for desktop, there are Java APIs available. There's a project called as SQL is there. There's a project called as Auto IT is there. There's a project called as Win App Driver, which is actually developed by APM team itself. So using this, you can launch a notepad and you can even test notepad desktop applications. And this is again a jar file.
So just like for FPM, can we test on any prod pointed build, or like we need a debug build for that?
See, it depends. I mean, on Android, you can test it on any build. It should be a stable application.
Okay.
Right. Uipath is, again, it is for, Uipath is also open source, but that is a separate tool. That is not a jar file. You cannot integrate that with Selenium. Right. So if we are talking about this project, like this project, this American Express project, I can integrate Selenium, I can integrate APM, I can integrate rest assured, I can add the database testing, I can add anything that is feasible in Java, I can add in one single project. So now you can see if your base is strongly built, down the line, you can automate all these applications in the same project as well. Right? It's just like your base is built up. Now you need to add a little extra effort and just learn these technologies, and you'll be able to pick up these technologies very quickly. So that is the reason why Selenium is in demand everywhere, because Selenium is going to build up your base for automation. For Selenium, you'll be learning some programming, be it Python, be it Java, or be it C#. Programming base is same for all, for everything, for every automation tool, programming base is same. It's just that 70% of the demand in the industry is Selenium with Java. If you know Java, Python, you should be able to add it within 2 weeks, because Python is a very simple language. If you have already added your additional effort in learning Java, you should be easily able to migrate to Python within 2 weeks and add it to your resume. So that is the reason when you're getting started, start with Selenium with Java and then add Selenium Python or Selenium C# as an added thing to your resume. So that will actually gonna build a huge impact to your resume. If you have Selenium with multiple languages, you have rest assured also added, you have APM also added, because down the line you are practically going to work on these things. So this is going to give a lot of weightage to your resume, right? And the best part is, like, once you are already enrolled in lifetime membership, so you'll be learning all these things. We already have all the courses for all these things. For desktop, we have recently finished a batch of Uipath. For mobile, APM is recently started. So only the introductory part is done in APM. Web services, we are going to start in another 2 weeks. And Selenium, we are starting it from the next week. So all these things you can be very much comfortable in case your interest is there in automation. Playwright is again another Java library. We're gonna have some videos on, like, a detailed course on Playwright as well very soon. Not in the live lectures, but in the complete video library. I'll be designing this. So Playwright can have a good upcoming market, right? There are a lot of features in Playwright as well. But yes, Selenium is something which is there since beginning. So no one can beat Selenium. That is for sure, right? Many tools comes, like not even Playwright there. There were tools before Playwright as well, like Cypress is there, Protractor was there in the market. But still the Selenium market, entire world, I mean, you can see everywhere the demand of Selenium is there. So nothing can beat Selenium. Right. Okay. So I guess, guys, we are already running out of time. So we're going to cover rest of the things in our tomorrow session. So just join on the same link tomorrow as well, sharp 8 o'clock. I hope you guys have enjoyed today's session. You have not got bored.
Yeah, it was great.
Yeah, we
All
enjoy.
right.
Yep.
Sure.
Nice listening to all.
Yeah, thank you.
It was very insightful, Rahul, truly.
Sure. Thanks a lot, guys. So yeah, same pace we're gonna follow for all the sessions, and I'll soon be uploading this recording, and we're gonna share the recording as well as the PDF file. All right. So thanks a lot, guys. Thanks a lot for joining and for your patience. We'll meet tomorrow same time.
Thanks, Rahul. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks. Thank you. Good night.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.